My family slammed the door in my face on Christmas, so I shut down their entire life overnight. I pulled into the driveway at 6:47 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Snow was piling up on the windshield. I had driven through 2 hours of icy roads from Cleveland, just to make it on time. No hotel booked. No backup plan. Because I wasn't supposed to need one. It was Christmas. And I was coming home. The house looked just like always. The same plastic candy cane lights that Brandon used to complain about hanging every year. Same inflatable snowman I bought for Dad 5 years ago because he said it was too childish, then quietly plugged it in when no one was looking. Same old wreath, brown at the edges, that Mom refused to throw out. Everything was the same, except me. I had a box in my hands. Gifts. Not just for Mom and Dad. For Brandon, his wife, his 2 kids. Wrapped by hand. Labeled carefully. One said, "To my favorite niece, Uncle Ethan's got your back." Inside was a $100 Lego set I knew she wanted. I had it shipped from across the state because it was sold out in most stores. I stood on the porch, smiled, took a breath, and knocked. Footsteps. I adjusted the box in my arms. The door opened, and Mom stood there, expressionless, like I was a stranger selling solar panels. "Sorry," she said. "I think you have the wrong house." Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. At first, I laughed. A confused, awkward half-chuckle. "It's me, Mom. Ethan." She didn't blink. "I think you should leave now." And the door shut. I stood there for maybe 20 seconds, thinking it was a joke, a prank, that someone would yell gotcha and open the door. But no one did. I knocked again, harder this time. Footsteps again, but slower. This time it was my brother Brandon who opened it. He didn't look angry, just uncomfortable, like he was apologizing with his eyes. "Come on, man," he said. "Don't make this harder." "What the hell are you talking about?" "You know why." "No, I really don't." He sighed. "We talked about this. We all agreed. It's better if you keep some space. For now." "You're serious?" "Look, it's Christmas. Don't make a scene." And just like that, the door shut again. Not slammed. Not yelled. Just closed. Like I wasn't real. Like I was something to manage. I stood there for another 10 seconds. Then 20. Then too long. Until the cold bit through my coat and reminded me I didn't even have a place to sleep. I got in my car, put the box on the passenger seat, and drove 2 miles before I pulled over into a dark grocery store parking lot and just. Saturday. No music. No heat. Just me. And a dashboard full of memories I didn't ask for. And that's when I remembered. I paid their rent last month. I covered Brandon's dental emergency. I gave Mom my Chase login 2 years ago, just in case something happened. I was the one who bought those candy cane lights. The one who let Dad use my credit card when his was maxed. The one who fixed Brandon's transmission last spring because he had 2 kids, man, and couldn't afford it. And I had just been told I didn't belong. So I pulled out my phone, opened Venmo, canceled every scheduled transfer. Then I opened my Chase app. 3 joint accounts. Mom, Dad, Brandon. Removed access. Next. Wells Fargo. Dad's credit card. Frozen. Mom's Amazon profile. Logged out. Brandon shared Netflix. Gone. I sat there watching the notifications pop up on my lock screen. Transaction declined. Unrecognized login attempt. Payment failed. At 11:04 p.m., I got a text from Mom. Did something happen with the bank? My card got declined. At 11:07, Brandon. Yo, I can't get gas. You messed something up. At 11:10, Dad. Amazon's asking for a new payment method. And then? At 11:12, Mom again. Ethan, what did you do? I didn't respond. I just wrote one line and sent it to the family group chat. You said I wasn't family. So I'm done paying like I am. Then I turned off my phone and slept in the car. By the next morning, 68 missed calls. The morning after Christmas, I woke up in the car with my back screaming and my legs frozen. I rubbed my eyes, looked at my phone. 68 missed calls, mostly from Mom and Brandon. A few from no caller ID, which was always Dad's way of calling when he didn't want it traced to him. And a text from Mom, timestamped 6:11 a.m. Ethan, we didn't mean to hurt you. Please come back and talk. Talk? Now they wanted to talk? I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop and ordered black coffee and a ham sandwich I barely touched. Then I opened the family group chat. That's when I saw it. Brandon had accidentally posted a screenshot in the group. Or maybe he meant to send it privately to Mom. I don't know. But he sent it to everyone. And even though he deleted it seconds later, I had already saved it. It was a text conversation. Brandon to Mom. From a few days before Christmas. If he comes, it'll ruin everything. We agreed, no drama this year. I don't care if he pays for everything. He always makes it about him. I don't want my kids around that. I reread it 3 times. Because the words weren't just casual cruelty. They were calculated. Like I was a problem they were trying to solve. A blemish to airbrush out of the holiday photo. Then came another message in the chat. This one from Dad. This is getting out of hand. Just call him. We'll say it was a misunderstanding. Mom replied instantly, no. He needs to know his place. He's not the parent here. I took a breath. A long one. And then I screenshotted everything. Just in case they deleted it all again. At 8:19 a.m., Mom texted me again. Honey, we were just trying to protect the kids. That phrase lit a fire in my chest. Because it wasn't just a lie. It was a weapon. Protect them from what? From the uncle who paid for their school supplies? From the man who built a bunk bed with his bare hands in the middle of July? From the one who sent birthday cards every year, even when no one said thank you? I typed out a dozen responses, deleted them all, and finally wrote, if you're protecting them from someone who's only ever shown up, then maybe you're the danger. She didn't reply for 2 hours. Then finally, that's not fair. Funny, they'd kicked me out of my own family Christmas, but I was the unfair one. I spent the rest of the day canceling everything else. Utilities I'd been covering in Dad's name? Cut. Spotify Premium linked to Brandon's email? Gone. Apple Family sharing? Revoked. I went scorched earth. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. At 3:34 p.m., Brandon called again. I answered this time. He started with a deep sigh. Look, man, things just got complicated. It wasn't personal. You told Mom I'd ruin everything. That wasn't about you. Then who the hell was it about? We just didn't want the drama. I showed up with gifts. You showed up with a closed door. He was silent. Then, the kids don't even ask about you anymore. And that was the one that actually hurt. Because I loved those kids like they were mine. Because I was there when his youngest was born. Because I was the one who babysat so he and his wife could go out when they were drowning with newborn stress. But now I was nothing to them. And that wasn't an accident. It was a campaign. That night, I called Rachel, my ex from 2 years ago, still a friend, the only one who had seen the cracks before they split open. I told her everything. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then she said, they never thought you'd say no. And she was right. They thought I'd show up, get humiliated, and then still pay the bills like a good little replacement son. Because that's what I'd been for years. The substitute adult. The one who handled everything when Dad got drunk. When Brandon lost his job. When Mom's card kept declining. The dependable ghost. Always there. Never seen. But not anymore. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Mom. Dear Ethan, we miss you. Christmas wasn't the same without you. We were overwhelmed. We made a bad call. Please don't punish everyone for one mistake. One mistake? One mistake doesn't come with texts, plans, strategies. One mistake doesn't look like he needs to know his place. This wasn't a mistake. It was a message. And I'd received it loud and clear. I didn't reply to the letter. But I mailed something back. A printout of the screenshot Brandon accidentally sent. With one sticky note on top. You did this to yourselves. It took 3 days. 3 days of silence after I mailed him the screenshot. Then the flood began. Brandon's wife, Melissa, texted me first. We'd never been close. Not hostile, just mutual courtesy. I changed her contact name to not neutral before I even opened the message. Hi, Ethan. I know things are messy, but can we talk? I ignored it. Then came a voice memo. I don't think it's fair for the kids to get caught in the middle. You've always been so good to them. I stared at my screen. You mean the kids who didn't even know I was coming? The ones you conveniently left out of the entire Christmas conversation? They weren't in the middle. They were part of the justification. That same afternoon, Mom emailed me. Subject line, a mother's regret. The body? I've been trying to think how we got here. How a loving family ends up cutting each other off over one misunderstanding. I laughed out loud. One misunderstanding? You mean the private agreement to pretend I didn't exist? The digital disowning? The financial exorcism of your own son? Yeah, totally just a hoaxie. But I didn't respond. I waited. Because I knew exactly what was coming next. And it did, the next morning. Brandon called Rachel. Yeah, my ex. He reached out to her on Facebook and asked if she could help Ethan calm down. She sent me screenshots. He actually wrote, he's gone nuclear. We just need him to cool off. Maybe talk him down? Talk me down? From what? Finally having boundaries? Then he said the line that made it clear this wasn't about reconciliation. It was about containment. If this gets out, it could really hurt Mom and Dad's image in the community. There it was. The real fear. Not losing me. Losing their mask. Because let me tell you something they never expected. They thought I was ashamed of being excluded. But what they never saw coming was me being proud of walking away. I drafted a post. Just for me. Saved in my notes app. A clear timeline of everything. Every bank account I funded. Every holiday I was left out of. Every time they praised Brandon for work I did. Screenshots. Photos. Receipts. Not rage. Not bitterness. Documentation. I didn't post it. Yet. But knowing I could, that was power I'd never had before. And they could feel it. 2 days later, Dad finally texted. I know you're angry, but we were just trying to hold the family together. The irony was so thick I could have cut it with the debit card he used to buy gas every week. I replied with one sentence. You held the family together by cutting me out? No response. Just read at 6:38 p.m. That night, I got a call from Lisa, a friend of Mom's from church. She was kind. I liked her. She said, Ethan, your mom's not doing well. She's not sleeping. She's scared you'll ruin her reputation. I told her the truth. I'm not trying to ruin anything. But I won't protect people who made me feel disposable. That hit. Even Lisa paused. They do love you, you know. Then they should have acted like it when I knocked on the door. After that, silence again. For a while. Until one night I got a call I wasn't expecting. Grandma. She's 82. Sharp as a tack. And until now, completely in the dark. She asked, Ethan, what happened? Your mother says you overreacted. So I told her. Everything. Not a rant. Just a calm walkthrough. I even read her the texts, the ones from Brandon, the ones where they agreed to keep me out. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then she said, I always wondered why they never talked about you. It broke me a little. Because she wasn't shocked. She was confirming something Shed always felt. You deserved better, she said. Then, would you like to come to Sunday dinner? I did. And when I walked in, she pulled me into the kitchen and whispered, we may not be able to fix what they broke. But we can start something new. That was the first time in weeks I felt warm. Not from the food. From being seen. It started at work. A coworker, Kira, pulled me aside in the break room. Hey, weird question. Is everything okay with your family? I blinked. Define okay. She hesitated. Someone messaged our company Facebook page. Said you were unstable. That you had a breakdown and cut off your family. I felt my throat tighten. Who was it? Anonymous. But the message mentioned your mom by name. I didn't say anything. Didn't react. But inside, I burned. Because now it wasn't just private. They were going public. Playing victim. Telling people I was going through something so they wouldn't look too close. So they could justify what they'd done. So I'd stay quiet. They chose war. So I opened the folder. Not literally. Digitally. The folder I had kept on Google Drive, labeled just in case. Inside, everything. Bank statements. Venmo logs. Screenshots of Brandon calling me backup money. Text threads where Mom joked about our favorite ATM finally coming for dinner. I pulled the most damning 5. Merged them into a single PDF. No commentary. Just truth. Then I sent one text. To the family group chat. You wanted to control the story. Here's the real one. If I hear one more lie, this goes public. Attached, the PDF. Brandon replied in under a minute. You're threatening us? I'm warning you. I kept your secrets. Paid your debts. Took your silence. Now I'm done. Then Mom. You're making us look like monsters. I'm not making you look like anything. I'm just not cleaning up your mess anymore. No one responded after that. But I know they saw it. The read receipts glowed like fresh cuts. The next day, I got a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Brandon's wife, Melissa. Ethan, please. You don't need to burn everything down. Think about the kids. There it was again. The kids. The convenient shield. The excuse. The guilt button they thought still worked. I replied, I thought about them when I bought their gifts. I thought about them when I paid for their school. You didn't think about me when you locked me out of Christmas. No reply. A week passed. Then I got an email. Subject line, reconciliation offer from Mom. A literal offer. She wrote, Ethan, we recognize mistakes were made. Perhaps you were hurt more deeply than we realized. We're willing to have a conversation with a mediator. No more threats. No more accusations. Just healing. She CC'd a family therapist. Professional tone. Legal language. Like I was a corporation they were settling with. Not a son. I didn't reply. But I did forward it to Grandma. She called me 2 hours later. They're trying to get ahead of something, aren't they? Yep. Are you going to let them? Not unless they say the words. Which are, we were wrong. And we used you. Until then, the answer was no. That Sunday, I went to dinner at Grandma's again. She made pot roast. Even made my favorite dessert, banana pudding with whipped cream. And when I walked in, she handed me a small wrapped box. Inside, a framed photo. Me, age 6, holding Brandon's hand. Both of us in matching Christmas sweaters. "This was the last year you were treated like a son," she said. I nodded. "I'm taking it back. I should have known they wouldn't just leave it at silence. Not my family. Not the people who couldn't take no, unless it came with a refund policy." It happened the Friday after New Year's. I was halfway through microwaving leftover pasta when I heard the knock. 2 raps. Not aggressive. Not casual either. I peeked out through the peephole. Mom. And right behind her, Brandon. I didn't move for 10 seconds. Just stared, heart ticking like a timer bomb. Then I opened the door. Half an inch. "Hey, sweetheart," she said, with that soft, maternal tone she only pulls out when she's already rehearsed the conversation in her head. "Can we come in?" Brandon asked. I looked at both of them. No rage. No panic. Just calm. "You've got 5 minutes. I stepped aside. Didn't offer coffee. Didn't offer a chair. They stood in the middle of my apartment like tourists in a place they never thought they'd visit again. Mom looked around. "Nice place. Cozy. Get to it." She sighed, pressed her hands together. Brandon kept his eyes low. "We made a mistake," Mom began. "You lied," I corrected. "We handled things badly. But you were always so distant. We didn't know how to reach you." I laughed. "You reached me when you needed money. When you wanted bills paid. When Brandon couldn't fix his car. You reached me fine." Brandon finally looked up. "You didn't answer my last call. Because I stopped owing you a response." Mom stepped forward. "Ethan, we were overwhelmed. It wasn't about you. But I was the one locked outside. It was Christmas. The kids, stop hiding behind the kids." Her mouth closed. I walked over to the table. Picked up the binder I'd made. Dropped it on the counter. "This is everything I've paid, covered, or forgiven in 10 years. "We didn't ask for all of that," Brandon mumbled. "No, you didn't ask. You expected." Mom looked down. "We thought you understood. That you wanted to help." "I did. Until you made it clear I was nothing more than a transaction." Then I turned to Brandon. "You told Mom I'd ruin Christmas." "I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" He didn't answer. Just shrugged. Like there was no correct answer left. "You know," I said, "if you had just told me the truth, that you didn't want me there, it would have hurt. But I might have forgiven it." "Ethan, but you lied. You schemed. You used my money, my time, my support, and then shut the door in my face and told people I was unstable. We didn't spread that Kira from work says hi. That shut them up." I walked to the door. Opened it. "Your 5 minutes are up." Mom's eyes welled up. "Please, don't do this." "Do what?" "Enforce boundaries. We're family." "No. We're blood." "Same thing." "No. Blood is biology. Family is behavior." Brandon stepped forward. "I can pay you back." "It's not about the money, Brandon. It's about the fact that even now, you think this is a transaction you can fix. So what do you want?" "Nothing." "Then what was the point of all this?" "The point," I said slowly, "was to stop pretending I was part of something I never really belonged to." Mom started crying. "Real tears?" "Maybe. Strategic? Also possible." "You're going to regret this," she whispered. "I've been regretting this family for years. Ethan, if you want to do something real, start telling the truth. To yourselves. To each other. Until then, I'm done being your scapegoat, your wallet, and your excuse." They stood there in silence. No more words. No more tears. Just silence. I nodded toward the hallway. "You know the way out." And they left. I didn't cry after the door closed. Didn't scream. Didn't even shake. I made tea. Put on a hoodie. Sat on my couch with a blanket and opened my laptop. Watched 2 episodes of some trash reality show where people yelled about nothing. And smiled. Because this time, I wasn't in the episode. That night, I wrote something in my journal. One line. "I don't owe anyone access to me, just because they knew me before I knew myself." The next morning, I had no missed calls. No texts. No guilt. Just peace. And silence that finally felt like mine. 3 months passed. No calls. No letters. No unannounced visits. For the first time in years, nothing. And God, I needed that nothing. I got into a rhythm. Wake up. Coffee. Walk. Work. Evenings with books. Old records. Cheap red wine and meals I didn't have to share. The quiet was unfamiliar at first. But eventually, I stopped checking my phone. Stopped waiting for the "I'm sorry" that was never coming. And that was the most healing thing of all. I started therapy. First time in my life. Told the whole story to a stranger with a clipboard and warm eyes. She didn't flinch. Didn't say, "That's horrible," or "How could they?" She just asked, "And what did it cost you to keep trying to belong?" I didn't answer. I just sat there, blinking back something I didn't want to name. Because she was right. It cost me everything. My sleep. My confidence. My self-worth. My ability to say no without guilt poisoning the edges of my voice. One night, I pulled out a photo album. The real kind, dusty, heavy, full of fingerprints. Christmas 2011. The last year I remembered feeling like I mattered. Brandon and I sitting on the floor, unwrapping gifts. Mom smiling behind the camera. Dad half asleep in his chair, but present. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I closed the album, put it in the back of my closet. Not out of hate, but because I didn't need to keep reopening wounds. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, I got a message. Email. From Brandon. Subject. I heard about Grandma. Inside, just 2 lines. I know you were close. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen. She had passed peacefully in her sleep the night before. I had been with her that Sunday. We'd watched Jeopardy. She had kissed my hand and said, "You became the man they never allowed you to be under that roof." I didn't reply to Brandon. Not because I was angry. Because I had nothing left to give him. The funeral was small. Quiet. A few close friends. Aunt Deb. A neighbor who always brought her soup when she was sick. And me. No parents. No Brandon. No kids. No lies. She left me one thing in her will. Not money. Not jewelry. A letter. Handwritten. Folded in thirds. It read, "Ethan, you were never the outsider. You were the mirror, and they hated what they saw in you. Keep building. Keep choosing peace. One day, your story will be someone else's permission. Love, Grandma." I cried. Hard. Ugly. Not because I was sad, but because I finally felt free. After the funeral, I went home and did something I had been putting off for months. I opened my notes app. Scrolled to the post I'd written months earlier, the one with the full timeline. And I deleted it. All of it. Because I didn't need revenge. Didn't need applause. Didn't need, "I told you so." I had peace. And they couldn't touch that. Weeks later, I got a message from a cousin I barely knew. Heard about everything. Just wanted to say, "I always thought you were the only sane one." I replied, "Thanks. Hope you're well." That was it. No invitations. No rebuilding. Just boundaries. I made new traditions. Spend Easter with coworkers. 4th of July at the lake with Rachel and her new boyfriend. Sundays doing absolutely nothing without anyone asking me to solve their problems. And it felt like my life. Finally, one night, I sat on my balcony with a beer and thought, this is what healing really looks like. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet you didn't have to pay for with your dignity. I don't hate them. Not anymore. But I'll never give them access again. Because some doors, once shut, stay shut. And that's not bitterness. That's wisdom. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too.